little about me. My name is Azamat, and I'm an SAT tutor in Schoolhouse. Let's practice. SAT practice test number 1. Next, let's start. Question number 27. Wants to emphasize a difference in the origins of two words. That's important for me. So choice A, Gordon, the final word of the is of Anglo-French origin, while the following year's final word, I'm not gonna bother myself reading those words, derives from ancient Greek. They're comparing the origins of those two words, like Anglo-French and ancient. Other choices, there's nothing about the origin in B. This one is just telling the origin of just one word, and it's telling that it's from ancient Greek. But we want the contrast between those two origins. Here we have nothing about origin. Present the study and its conclusions. So you gotta say the study, when it was, or what was that study about, and then conclusions as well. Choice A, as part of a 2013 study of cat domestication, there's saying the study, a chemical analysis was conducted on cat bone fragments found. Okay, there is nothing about conclusions. You gotta say it concluded that, or it suggested that, or any other word that represents conclusion. Choice B, a 2013 analysis of cat bone fragments suggests that cats there may have been domesticated 5,300 years ago. Yes, that's the correct answer because it's telling the study and conclusions as well. In 2013, archaeologists studied what cats in had eaten more than. There's no conclusion. Yeah, there's no conclusion. It just told what they studied, and that's it. Choice D, cat bone fragments estimated to be were found in. There's nothing about this study here. So B is correct. Transition questions, although that's important, I always look for these types of words. Although those who migrated to California dreamed of finding gold nuggets in stream beds. The state's richest deposits were buried deeply in rock. So they were buried deeply in rock, beyond the reach. Like beyond the reach, we can't actually reach it, right? By 1852. So here we had a year of 49. So after like 3 years, many had given up their fortune dreams and had gone to work for one of the largest companies. So we want something like related to time, maybe, yeah, related to time. Furthermore, no, there's no addition. Still, is there a contrast? Maybe, but I really want something about time. Consequently, yeah, there is a sequence of time, like 1849 and then 1852. Next doesn't really fit in this case. So C is correct. 24. In his book, challenged prevailing views about how natural landscapes influence human cultures, and he or she argued instead of being shaped entirely by their natural surroundings, cultures play an active role in their cultures on active role. So in this case, it is telling that he or she challenged views, and then in the next sentence is telling specifically what views he or she challenge it. So I want something like for example or for instance. Let's have a look at choices. Similarly, no. Finally, no. Therefore, specifically is a synonym of for example. So back. In November 1934, was living in what must have been looked like the ideal city for a young artist, Paris. She was studying firsthand the color saturated style of France's modern masters and beginning to make a name for herself as a painter. So she longed to return to her child home of India. Only there she believed could her art truly flourish. So there is a contrast. She was studying in France and she was a painter in France. But after that, like she still like longed to return to India. So there's a contrast. Therefore, doesn't represent contrast. Indeed, no. Furthermore, the only choice that tells the contrast is A. Okay, one poll taken after the first presidential debate suggested John Kennedy lost badly. So, okay, lost badly. Only 21% of those who listened to on the radio rated him the winner. The debate was ultimately considered a victory. So there is a contrast, right? Lost badly and victory. There is a contrast. In other words, no, therefore, likewise, no, nevertheless, contrast, right? 21. During this period, many writers imitated the epic poetry and satires of ancient Greece and Rome. They were not the first in England to adopt the literary models of classical uh, antiquity. However, some of the most prominent figures of the earliest period were also influenced by ancient Greek and Roman literature. So grammatically, A is incorrect. Uh, B is also incorrect. So I'm between C and D. So what we have to do is find a contrast between whether the contrast is between the first sentence and the second one, or between the second and the third sentence. So I guess the contrast is between the first and the second one. Why? Because in the first sentence, it's telling that they imitated from Greece and Rome, and then they in the second sentence is telling that they were not the first in England. But in the first sentence, it's told that writers imitated from Greece and Rome. So there's a contrast between first and second one. It doesn't matter whether the transition word is going to come in the beginning or at the end or even in the middle. So that's why C is correct. The violins handmade, okay, handmade, have been celebrated as some of the finest in the world. In close collaboration with musicians, introduced changes, okay, to the shape of, flattening some of the instruments curves and making lighter overall. So I know that those will not be correct because it's talking about violin. Mm, I guess it will be it. Yes. Why? Because here we have violin singular. Yeah, back. Okay. It's a grammar question, so I think I can only read from this part. It's enough to read from this part. Her 2014 novel, Boy Snow Bird, for instance, is a complex retelling of the story of Snow White, while her 2019 novel, Gingerbread, offers a delicious twist on the classic tale of those things. Okay, so here we don't have any uh, comma between like those parts of the name of a novel, so I can put Gingerbread itself here. Sorry for the noise. It's from the metro. In 1966, I'm not gonna bother myself reading those names. Became the first to umpire baseball game. Okay, energetic gestures announcing when a player has struck out, and his habit of barreling after a hit ball to see if it would land out of bounds. But transfer the traditionally silent umpire role into a dynamic one. Okay. So here, I can rid of this part of bounds. I can rid of this part because it's unimportant. This part, which I underline it, is unimportant. Her energetic gestures help it, right? It's not gonna be helping. It's not gonna be that helps. It's not gonna be to help because we want, yeah, because we want to have the independent clause. If like all the other choices will make a dependent clause. Okay, American writer has won acclaim for her powerful short stories. Okay, and essays, praising her lyrical yet unflinching depictions of her history. The writer has compared this to this. Okay, I mean here that's a long sentence, and I believe that we need like a pause here. So that's why this is correct, and the other way, like, and the other reason why this is correct is because here we have a independent clause, and then after that we also have an independent clause after praising, right? So that those two should be like independent sentences. Question number 16. In 1930, artists depicted the natural beauty of park into memorable woodcuts. Okay, in 2019, alongside 150 of Abam's other works. Okay, depicted in other works as well. So, mm, so Obata, there was like a beautiful park which was Yosemite National Park, and Obata made two woodcuts. So other works here we have to refer to other works. So there are two works that he's done before, so that's why it's gonna be there were exhibited alongside 150. Why it A is incorrect? Because it's not referring to the park. I mean other works and like works are two woodcuts. That's why they were is gonna be correct. B is correct. So in 2011, these two writers joined forces to found so they two guys joined it to found that's a book packaging company that specializes in the creation and promotion of stories told from diverse perspectives for children and young adults. So the only grammatically correct choice is B. You can't use comma before that. So this is text completion question. I'm not gonna bother myself reading these names. So it's a plant. It's become invasive. So it displays native vegetation, displaces, right? So that's something negative. Sickens cattle. It can be controlled with chemical herbicals. But that approach can also, so here we have something positive, and then, but still, it can kill harmless plants nearby. So we gotta do something, right? even if we will have those sorts of chemical herbicides, it's still gonna kill harmless plants nearby. Recent research on introducing engineered DNA into plant species to inhibit their reproduction may offer paths towards exclusively targeting. Consequently, so we want something related to not killing harmless plants nearby, or something related to it. I mean, I guess, but my guess is not always gonna be correct, but still it helps me to understand what sort of choice I'm looking for. Choice A, making individual those plants more susceptible to existing chemical herbicides. No, we actually solve that problem. Like the rule, chemical herbicides, it can also kill those harmless plants, but uh, like when we introduce engineered DNA, we have to solve that problem. The problem is killing harmless plants nearby. So A is wrong. Enhancing ecological benefits, nothing about ecological benefits. Enabling cattle to consume without being sick. Like being sick is already solved by chemical herbicides. We want to solve the problem of killing harmless plants. So C is wrong. Reducing invasive numbers without harming other organisms? Exactly. This is exact perfect of killing harmless plants nearby. Okay, you have text of like quantitative command of evidence. Over the past those years, the percentage employed in agricultural sector, so agriculture, has declined in both France and the United States, while service sector has risen. So that's important. I highlighted all those important parts. However, this transition happened at very different rates, right? Very different rates in those two countries. So this can be most clearly comparing the employment sector by both. Okay, we are looking for very different rates. Okay, so A, 1900 with 1950. Agriculture has to decline. We don't care about manufacturing, by the way. It has to decline in both France and US from 43 to 32, from 41 to 14. That's a sort of a different rate, I guess. Service from 28 to 35, from 31 to 53. I guess that's also a different rates. Yeah, a kind of a different rates. So let's have a look at B, C, and D as well. 18,000 and 2012. From 64 to 3, 68 to 2. No, they're like almost the same. 14 to 76, 13 to 80. Almost the same. So B is wrong. 19,000 with 12, 2012. 43 to 3, 41 to 2. This is almost the same. 28 to 76, 31 to 80. Almost the same. I want like very different rates. They have to decline and like increase in very different rates. 1800, 1890, 1900. 64 to 43, 68 to 41. Almost the same. 14 to 28, 13 to 31. Almost the same. So A is correct. I do have a little time left, so I'm gonna be going faster because I was explaining a lot in those questions. In grammar and transition questions, I was explaining a lot, so that's why I'm gonna be going a little faster. Price, okay. Burn less energy. Okay, so this is important. Hypothesize that because Arctic ground squirrels hibernate alone, they would longer bouts of torpor and shorter arousal episodes than Alaska. Okay, we don't care about how many we have, we care about the duration. So A, like the correct answer choices has to both tell it accurately and just support these. Is it telling support? Yes, it's telling support. Alaska's marmot's arousal episodes, so arousal episodes lasted for days. No, it's like 21 hours, not like days, right? A is wrong. Alaska marmots and both maintain it. No, this is like ground was maintained for several days. I mean, we want to support this. We want to compare those times, but here it's not comparing those times. Alaska marmots had shorter torpor. Yes, 13 is shorter and longer. 21 hours is higher than like longer than 14. So C is correct. Let's have a look at D. No, no, we don't care. Look, we don't care about the numbers. So I'm gonna read that quickly. So a general measure may not fully reflect uncertainty about specific, as in the case while in the United Kingdom, where general economic policy uncertainty, okay, align closely with uncertainty about in 2015, but different from in 2009. No, like this is factually correct. Was substantially lower than uncertainty. No, because it's factually incorrect. Which is the highest level in 20? No, like it's not the highest, by the way, here. General economic policy was substantially lower in, higher. Yes. It was substantially higher than other years in 2010. It was substantially lower in 2005. So I'm gonna read that quickly. Yeah. So show it. That's important part. That material in CPC or ACT dust has a lower rate than the same material. So the same material in faster moving dust, for example, of iron. We want the iron because saying the same material, we're gonna eliminate sodium here. ASD. So we gotta compare that ASD to either HCC or OCC. So here we have HCC. Is it correct? Yes. We can't compare to CPOs because it's so slow moving. Okay. They're naturally dense food, but they're difficult to digest. I'm highlighting the most important parts. High levels of soluble fiber in compounds like nose. So they contain anti-nutrients like tannins and K, which interfere the body in the research. When there was fermentation, improves the digestibility and makes them more nutritious. So it gotta be the opposite of all these stats. When cooking contain more trypsin, I'm not really sure. No, because the not more of those trypsin inhibitants. Less, yes, less soluble because it's contrast to these. I guess B might be. I mean, let's have a look at other choices as well. On to, There's nothing about nitrogen in the text, so C is wrong. D. No, both of these did not contain fewer trypsin inhibitors. Like non-fermented had like higher levels of these. So B is correct. Main idea. Here we have a poem. The poem is addressed to a close friend as he was physically present. Okay, I hurry to my bed, the dear repose for limbs with travel tired. Okay, begin a journey in my head, mind, was body. So, like, the main idea is like he can't really sleep. He's just thinking about his friend, close friend. Okay, traveling. There's nothing about traveling. to see the friend. An upcoming trip. Nothing about the trip. He's just thinking. To fatigue to continue discussion. Nothing about being fatigued to continue discussion. He's thinking about the friend instead of immediately falling asleep. This is exactly the same like main idea. Okay, this text is adapted from Now the Moral of Vision. I'm not gonna bother myself reading those names. Was a woman of strong individuality whose comments upon her acquaintances, present or absent, were marked by frankness at times no less than startling. This characteristic caused her to be more or less avoided. Miss Chelsea was aware of the sentiment on the part of her and rather exulted in it. Okay, so what's true about the acquaintances? They try to refrain from discussing subjects that upset. There's nothing about discussing those subjects that will upset her. They're unable to spend as much time as like the text is saying that her acquaintances don't want to spend time, but in B it's telling that they really want to spend but they can't. No, it's complete opposite. They're too preoccupied with their own concerns. No, there's nothing about that. D, they're likely offended by what she has said about them. Yes, because she comments upon them. So what's true about Eleanor? Okay, this is from Now Sense and Sensibility. Okay, she lives with her sisters and mother. So Eleanor's advice was so effectual, so she gives really good advice. She had a strength of understanding, she had a coolness of judgment, and she was the counselor of her mother. Okay, so she had an excellent heart, her feelings were strong. Every single thing about her is positive. Okay, 5 minutes left. Nothing about arguing with her mother. Nothing about being sensitive. The passage is more about like Eleanor being like really positive. No, she doesn't think her mother is a bad role model. Nothing about her mother being a bad role. Yes, she's mature for her age. All these characteristics represent that. Okay, text one. When companies in the same case with one another, they often claim that they will benefit consumers by increasing efficiency and therefore lowering prices. Okay. I think this note in the context of the United States, merger of okay, subscription prices would rise following a merger. Okay, text two. Economists have argued that research on the effects of has focused excessively on short-term effects, which tend to be adverse for consumers using the case of okay. Over the long term, the efficiency gains released by do result in economic benefits. So text one is stating the claim, and text two is saying that it's just for short term. The long term is gonna be better. So text two would say that just focus on like being short term or long term effects. Please, maybe A. Not sure. No, nothing about another newspaper market. Yes, C is correct. Like over an extended period, it's telling that it has to focus on the long term as well. Yeah. No, nothing about in most other industries. A is incorrect because um, it's not really like the best choice here is C. Okay, I'm reading it fast because I have very little time. Okay. So links persist across centuries and continents. Okay, so links persist across centuries and continents. So the purpose of this, I need to find the purpose. No, A is wrong. Nothing, it's not exemplified by this discussion. It's not a generalization. I guess maybe it might be. I'm not sure. I mean, it's not an alternative explanation because there's not another explanation as well. Mm, so I'm between B and D. The reason why B is incorrect is because it's not exemplifying this sentence. This sentence is not telling that it's is persisting across other continents and centuries. Is it telling that? Oh, I guess it's not telling it. So it had been attacked doesn't mean it's like the complete opposite, I believe. So that's why D is correct. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read it fast. Okay. So it's telling about what they're less confident about. No, nothing but perceiving, like others perceiving it. No, it's not the central finding. It's just talking about what they're less confident about. Yes. It's not the limitation of a method, by the way. So influence, inspiration. It's by no means no is negative, so we want another negative to have the positive of aspiration. Substantial is not like negative, so that's fine. Unimportant, yes. Okay. So they have a problem by diversity loss, and they can take simple steps. So if they can take simple steps, it will be it can be common, can be concerning. If they can like take simple steps, it can be preventable. Undeniable doesn't make sense here because if we can take simple steps, we can easily prevent it. So question number 1. We are first gonna look at the passage and understand what we need. In habitats with limited nutrients, certain fungus species grow on the roots of trees, engaging in mutually beneficial relationships known as. I'm not gonna bother myself reading these types of names and titles in the real exam. So in this sort of exchange, the tree provides the fungus with carbon, a nutrient necessary for both species. And the fungus does something by enhancing the tree's ability to absorb nitrogen, another key ingredient from the soil. So I want a verb that is related to mutually benefiting both species. So let's look at the choices. Overreact, it has nothing to do with mutually beneficial. So A is wrong because, as I said, reciprocate, it's exactly what I was looking for. It means benefit mutually. So B is the correct answer choice in this case. What about C? No, it doesn't make sense in this case because what we need is mutually benefit. Deviate? No. It's just pointless in this case. So question number 2. Again, first I'm gonna look at the text. Handedness, a preferential use of either the right or left hand, typically is easy to observe in humans. Because this trait is present but less, so it's present, but then we have a contrasting word, but. So after that, we need something like not, not present. And not can be replaced with less. So we can remove not. So we need a word which is like present. It has to be the synonym of present in this case. So let's have a look at the choices. Recognizable. Yeah, it's definitely a synonym for present. Intriguing? Are we talking anything about interesting or intriguing? No. Significant? Are we talking about the value? Is it significant or less significant? No. We're just talking about the presence of it. Useful? We're not talking about the usefulness. So A is the correct answer choice. You just have to look for words that are just paraphrases or synonyms. You always have to look for these kinds of hints. Question number 3. Again, I'm gonna first look at the text. In Nature Poem 2017, so poet portrays his something, the natural world by honoring the centrality of nature within his tribe's traditional beliefs while simultaneously expressing his distaste for being in wilderness settings himself. So I want a noun that means honoring honoring and this date. So always just guess the choice before going to the answer choices. So let's have a look at the choices. Responsiveness to, it doesn't mean both honoring and this date, right? So A is incorrect. Ambivalence toward. Yes, exactly. Ambivalence means having sort of conflicting feelings, and it's literally the same. Honoring and disdain, these are two different like conflicting feelings. So I'm pretty sure that that B is correct. But still, let's have a look at the other answer choices. Renunciation. What does renunciation mean? It means rejecting something. So that's why you need to know words in these types of cases. My suggestion to you is to use College Panda 400 words and IB Global. And these words are really great, and I've seen a lot of those words coming up in these practice tests as well. Mastery over? No, there's nothing about this state in C. So the correct answer is B. So let's move on to question number 4. So text. Some scientists have suggested that mammals in this era, I'm not going to read those types of names because it's going to take a lot of time and they're not essential. So those mammals were not a very something, okay, group. We need an adjective here. So, but someone's research suggests that early mammals living in the shadow of dinosaurs weren't all ground dwelling. Okay, fossils of various plant-eating mammals have been found. Okay, so various, that's important, have been found in China, including species like those, which Luo says could glide like a flying squirrel. Okay, so the main word, I firstly thought the main word was like weren't all ground dwelling. Yeah, it's kind of that, but we also have various, which is really important. So here we have a contrasting word. So before this contrasting word, we need not various, right? Not various, because here we have various, but before that there is but. So here there has to be an opposite of it, which is not various. So we're not, we can like remove not because we already have not here. So various, we need a word that is exactly the same as various. Let's have a look at the choices. Diverse, yes. I mean, it's definitely the synonym of various. Here, the trap might be localized. This might be a trap. Why? Because you may not have paid attention to the word but, or maybe you didn't realize that there was a word not in this case. So this is the complete opposite. Obscure, it doesn't make sense. Predatory, no, it doesn't make sense. So question number 5. Critics have asserted that fine arts and fashion rarely, always look for these types of words, rarely, not, Not always, usually, but always look for these types of words. In a world where artists create timeless works, so artists create timeless works. There's no time, there's no sort of a period when it's going to be a trend or something. And designers periodically produce, so designers, on the other hand, produce periodically new styles. For example, the style that was trending in 1900s is not a style that is trending now, for example. So it's a complete like a contrast, right? Artists create timeless works, whereas designers create work like produce styles that are periodical. Uh-huh. And then here we have example of that. So what sort of word am I looking for in this case? Fine art and fashion rarely is not related, or kind of rarely intersect would be a better word, I guess. Yeah, I'm looking for a word like intersect or related. So let's have a look at the choices. Prevail? No, it doesn't make sense. Here we have intersect, right? Exactly, I found the right word. Diverge is the complete opposite. Like fashion and art are different things because in art they're timeless, but in design they are periodical. So they rarely intersect. They don't intersect. But diverging means like the complete opposite, not intersecting. So D is correct. Question number 6. The author's claim about the relationship between these two, okay, is something. So we need an adjective, as it fails to account for several recent archaeological discoveries. To be convincing, so that means it's not convincing. So to be convincing, his argument would need to address recent finds of additional fossils such as blah blah blah. So in this case, so if it fails to account for discoveries and to be convincing, it needs some additional details. It's unconvincing, right? So the word I'm looking for is unconvincing. Unconvincing. So let's have a look at the choices. Disorienting means being confused. I mean, I'm not sure whether this is the right fit here. Why? Because being confused is not equal to being like unconvinced, because the argument might be convincing, but you yourself might be confused about all these. It's not really related. Tenuous, you need to work this word because tenuous means unconvincing. It means weak. So B is the exact word that it can be the synonym of unconvincing. Nuanced, it doesn't make sense here. Nuanced means new and always, yeah. Unoriginal, nothing about being original or not. So question number 7. The provenance of, I'm not gonna bother myself reading it, was situated on the Pacific coast hundreds of kilometers. That's important. Hundreds of kilometers. Okay, because its location within the empire was so, I think it's gonna be something like far away. So the word I'm looking for is far away. Far away. Let's continue reading. Cacao and other trade goods produced there could reach the capital only after a long overland journey. So even here, long journey. So let's have a look at the choices. What I'm looking for is far away. So A, unobtrusive. It B, concealed. They both kind of mean like being hidden. Being hidden does not mean that it is far away. It might be very approximate. It might be very near to you, but it might be hidden, right? It doesn't really uh, like correlate to being far away. Approximate is the complete opposite. Peripheral, it exactly means being far away. So D is correct. Question number 8. So question, the function of the underlined sentence. Okay. Some students think that they just need to read the sentence that is underlined and that's it. But that's not correct. You gotta read the whole text. So several studies have found negligible electoral consequences for governments that impose these measures. Yet some European governments recently suffered due to their austerity programs. Okay. So these colleagues attribute this incongruity to government's tendency, not followed in the recent European cases, to implement austerity programs strategically to avoid these costs, which has obscured the inherent political risks of austerity measures in the election data scholars have examined. So choice B is identifies a conflict between research findings and recent events that the text goes on to suggest is a consequence of a complicating factor in the data used to generate those findings. Exactly, because the underlined claim is like functions to exactly say the conflict between these findings and recent events. So B is correct. Choice C, it presents a long-standing divergence. I'm not sure. In research findings that the text goes on to say is due to different groups of researchers. No, this underlying sentence is not written to say this. I mean, different group of researchers. No. It describes a recent exception to a general pattern. No, there's no exception. So it is wrong. So let's move on. Question number 9. So let's look at the question first. Based on the text, how does the Lord Chancellor respond to the crowd? Okay, we need his response to the crowd. Anything, we don't need anything else. So it's from a novel. Okay, a crowd has gathered outside a room belonging to the warden, an official who reports to the Lord Chancellor. One man who was more excited than the rest flung his hat high into the air and shouted, as well as I could make out, "Hurrah for the sub-warden!" Everybody roared, but whether it was for the sub-warden or not did not clearly appear. Some were shouting bread, some taxes, and no one seemed to know what it was really wanted. They wanted. All this I saw from the open window of the warden's breakfast saloon, looking across the shoulder of the Lord Chancellor. What can it all mean? So from here, the response of the Lord begins. He kept repeating to himself, "I never heard such shouting before, and at this time of the morning too, and with such unanimity." Unanimity means a kind of being united. Yeah, kind of being united. So let's have a look at the choices. He asks about the meaning of the crowd shouting, even though he claims to know what the crowd wants. He doesn't claim to know what the crowd wants, because he himself is asking what can it all mean. So A is incorrect. He indicates a desire to speak to the crowd, even though the crowd has asked it to speak to the subword. I mean, does he indicate a desire to speak? Is he saying that he wants to speak to the crowd? I'm not sure. Let's leave this choice. So C, it expresses sympathy for the crowd's demands, even though the crowd's shouting annoys him. I mean, sympathy, that's a lot of like an extreme word. Do we have something around being excited, like sympathy? Something positive? I'm not sure. We don't have anything that is positive. So C is incorrect. D, it describes the crowd as being united. Yes, united means unanimity, even though the crowd clearly appears otherwise. Although the crowd is not that sort of united, Lord is describing the crowd as being united. So, how do we know that the crowd clearly appears not united? Because some people are shouting dread, some people are shouting Texas, but no one knew what was they really wanted. So D is correct. You might say, what about B? I mean, we don't really know whether Lord is indicating a desire to speak. Is he saying that he has a desire to speak? I'm not sure. In this case, the best choice is D. So let's move on. Question number 10. So we have to use the data from the graph to complete the statements. It's command of evidence quantitative. So let's read. The population of something declined significantly around 9,000 years ago in the sea and around 11,000 years ago near the coast. Using the ratio of M to C, let's say it like that because I'm not gonna waste my time if I had this question to read those because I have so limited time in the real SAT, which inversely correlates with ocean oxygenation levels. Marine scientists and colleagues evaluated whether oxygenation played a role in the decline. So, does oxygenation play a role in the declines? So the researchers concluded that oxygenation may have been important in the sea, but not near the coast. Okay, so we gotta support it. So let's have a look at the answer choices. A substantial increase in oxygenation in Albertan Sea corresponded with the local decline. I'm not sure whether we need it. But the opposite relationship between oxygenation and L. pertusa was found near the Malutian coast. So it's not clearly supporting the fact that oxygenation was important in the sea but not near the coast. So A is incorrect. B. L. pertusa declined in the Albertan Sea during a period of substantial local decline in oxygen. So that's true. That's true. But Albertusa declined near the Maltarian coast during a period of little local change in oxygenation. Yes, that's also true, and it literally supports. So B is correct. So C, oxygenation in the Albertan Sea was higher before the decline than after the decline. Are we talking about before and after the decline? I'm not sure, so C is incorrect. D, oxygenation in the sea tended to be substantially higher than oxygenation near the coast. We are not comparing these oxygenations, so D is incorrect. Let's move on to question number 11. Born in 1891 to a Quechua speaking family, so I'm not gonna bother myself reading this if I was in the real exam. So in those mountains is today considered to be one of the most renowned works figures of Latin American photography. Okay. Uh, in a paper in a paper for an art history class, a student claims that Chambe's photographs have considerably ethnographic value. Okay. In his work, Chambe was able to capture diverse elements of Peru- Peruvian society, representing his subjects with both dignity and authenticity. So the most important word here is capturing those diverse elements of the society. Okay, let's have a look at the choices. Which one supports the claim? By the way, in some cases, you might have also weaken or undermine. So always read that. In this case, we have support. Chambe took many commissioned portraits of wealthy Peruvians, but he also produced hundreds of images carefully documenting the people, sites, and customs of indigenous communities of the Andes. These are all various elements, right? Portraits of wealthy people and hundreds of images of people, sites, and customs of the communities. And this is exactly what I was looking for. We have a lot of like diverse, various elements of the society. B, the Chambe's photographs demonstrate a high level of technical skill. Are we talking about technical skill? No, right? So B is incorrect. During his lifetime, Chambe was known and celebrated both within and outside his native Peru, as his work was published in places like Argentina, Spain, and Mexico. Are we talking about being known, being renowned for both within and outside? We're not talking about the place Chambe was famous in. Some of the people and places Chambe photographed had long been popular subjects for Peruvian photographs. No, doesn't support that claim. So question number 11. Which quotation from the interviews best illustrates the journalist's claim? Okay, so here we have a claim, but still, I'm gonna read the whole text to have a background information. So art collectives like the United States and Vietnam-based collective, the Propeller Group or Cuba's Los Carpinteros are groups of artists who agree to work together, perhaps for the stylistic reasons, or to advance certain shared political ideals, or to help mitigate the cost of supplies and studio space. Regardless of the reasons, art collectives usually involve some collaboration among the artists. Based on a recent series of interviews with various art collectives, and arts journalist claims that this can be difficult for artists who are often used to having sole control over their work. So until here, the text was saying that the text was literally telling that working together is good, but now working together is bad because it's difficult. So why? Because many of the artists are uh, like were used to have a sole control. Sole means only like having the solitary control over their work. So let's have a look at the choices. The first collective I joined included many amazing talented artists. We enjoyed each other's company, but because we had a hard time sharing credit and responsibility for our work, the collective didn't last. So in this case, it's talking about that. It's telling that um, working together cannot always be good. It can be bad, right? So A might be true, right? So B, we work together, but that doesn't mean that individual projects are equally the work of all of us. Many of our projects are primarily the responsibility of whoever originally proposed the work to the group. It's not saying that working together is can be bad, right? It's just saying a claim about it, the feature of working together. So B is wrong. Having worked as a member of the collective for several years, it's sometimes hard to recall what it was like to work alone without the collective support. But that support encourages my individual expression rather than limits it. So it's saying that working together can be good, but you want something that says working together can be bad. So C is wrong. D. Sometimes an artist from outside the collective will choose to collaborate with us on a project. But all of those projects fit within the larger themes of the work the collective does on its own. It's not talking about whether the working together is good or bad. So it is wrong. So the correct answer is A. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 13. We need to support the hypotheses. Researchers hypothesize. Oh, good. We literally have hypotheses at the beginning. I guess this is good because you're not going to waste a lot of time reading the background information. But still, reading background information is good, but in this case, it doesn't require us. So, a decline in the population of dusky sharks. So, decline in dusky sharks near the mid-Atlantic coast led to a decline in the population of eastern oysters. Okay, this led to decline of eastern oysters. In the region, dusky sharks do not typically consume eastern oysters. So dusky sharks do not consume eastern oysters, but they do consume Kaunas rays, which are the main predators of the oysters. So that means that if DS consumes Kaunas rays, if there's a decline in dusky sharks, the dusky sharks will not consume Kaunas rays, and there are gonna be a lot of them. Because dusky sharks do not consume them, there are gonna be an increase of Kaunas rays. As a result, Kaunas rays will consume eastern oysters, which will lead to the decline of eastern oysters. So that's my way of interpreting this text. So we need to support this. Declines in the regional abundance of dusky sharks prey other than Kaunas rays are associated with regional declines in dusky shark abundance. I mean, why do we care about other than Kaunas rays? I mean, it's not related here. We just have to support this. We have to mention just 3 of these things, and that's it. We don't have to care about any other thing. So B. E or abundance tends to be greater in areas with both dusky sharks and Kaunas rays than in areas with only dusky sharks. So let me interpret it. So abundance tends to be greater in areas with both. I mean, no, it's not supporting this. Yeah, it's not supporting it. Just saying the random facts, and it's comparing the areas, right, where there are both dusky sharks and Kaunas rays with the places where there is only dusky sharks. We don't need that to support it. So see, consumption of eastern oysters by Kaunas rays in the region substantially increased before the regional decline in dusky shark abundance began. Do we care about the time before? No, we don't care about the time. We just need to support the hypothesis. And our hypothesis is this. Shows the Kaunas rays have increased. So Kaunas rays have increased, okay, in regional abundance as dusky sharks have decreased. Dusky sharks decreased. Dusky sharks. So is that correct? Will this support? Yeah, it will support it. Exactly. It will definitely support because this is the same as this one, right? So I literally wanted this. It's literally supporting it, right? It's the same. So D is correct. Question number 14. Again, we gotta support the argument. In the 20th century, ethnographers made a concerted effort to collect Mexican American folklore. Okay. But they did not always agree about the folklore's origins. Scholars such as claim that Mexican American folklore derived largely from the folklore of Spain, which ruled Mexico, and what is now the southern United States from the 16th to early 19th centuries. Scholars such as someone, by contrast, argued that while some Spanish influence is undeniable, Mexican American folklore is mainly the product of ongoing interactions of various cultures in Mexico and the United States. So we want something related to ongoing interactions of various cultures in Mexico and the United States. Okay, so let's have a look at the choices. The folklore that the ethnographers collected included several songs written in the form of a decimal type of poem originating in late 16th century Spain. No, it's not supporting it. It's not telling that there's an ongoing interaction of various cultures. Much of the folklore that they collected had similar elements from region to region. Are they saying similar? No, they're various cultures, right? So B is wrong because it's literally telling the opposite. C, most of the folklore that they collect was previously unknown to scholars. It's not supporting it. It gotta support the ongoing interactions of various cultures. So C is wrong. D, most of the folklore that the ethnographers collected consisted of corridas, ballads about history and social life of a clearly recent origin. Yes, here we have a clearly recent origin, right? So clearly recent origin is representing the ongoing interaction of various cultures. So D is correct for this reason. So question number 15, sex completion. Birds of many species inject food containing carrot. I'm not gonna bother myself reading it. So there are molecules that are converted into feather coloration. Okay. Coloration tends to be especially saturated in male birds' feathers, and because they also confer health benefits, okay, the deeply saturated colors generally serve to communicate what's known as an honest signal of a bird's overall fitness to potential mates. Okay, it's an honest signal of the fitness. However, they have found that males in several species of this, I'm not going to bother myself reading it, use microstructures in their feathers to manipulate light, creating the appearance of deeper saturation without the birds necessarily having to maintain a rich diet. Carotenoid rich diet. These findings suggest that. So let's have a look at the choices. Individual male teenagers can engage in honest signaling without relying on carotenoid consumption. Maybe. Let's have a look at the other choices. Further microstructures may be less effective than deeply saturated feathers for signaling overall fitness. Are they comparing these two? Are they saying which one is more effective, which one is less effective? No, we don't care about effectiveness. Scientists have yet to determine why teenagers have a preference for mates with colorful appearances. No, there's nothing about that. A male tanager's appearance may function as a dishonest signal of the individual's overall fitness. Yeah, D is correct. It's like literally completing the text. So let's continue. Question number 16. Among social animals that care for their young, such as chickens, monkeys, and humans, newborns appear to show an innate attraction to faces and face-like stimuli. Okay, so newborns have an innate attraction to faces and face-like stimuli. So Hans, she or he and her colleagues, so she and her colleagues used an image of three black dots arranged in the shape of eyes and a nose or mouth to test whether this trait occurs in those types of species which live alone. Okay, so they live alone and they do not engage in potential care. They found that they showed a significant preference for the image. So, suggesting that my guess is it doesn't matter whether they are alone or not. It's still newborns have an innate attraction to faces. Even like the research that went on with this species, which live alone, they still showed a preference for the image, for the face-like stimuli. So face-like stimuli are likely perceived as harmless by newborns of social species that practice potential care, but as threatening by newborns of solitary species without potential care. No. What we need is something related to how can I say that like the location or like being alone or not alone doesn't matter. We need that sort of an opinion. Researchers should not assume that an innate attraction to face stimuli is necessarily an adaptation related to social interaction or potential care. Exactly. This is exactly the choice that I was looking for. It's literally is paraphrasing what I said. Researchers can assume that attraction to face-like stimuli is seen in social species that practice parental care is learned rather than innate. No, it's innate. It's not. The C is saying that it's not innate. Rather, it's learned. No, it's not like that. It's innate. Newly hatched show a stronger preference for face-like than adult ones. We're not comparing adult ones and newly species. So D is wrong. Now let's move on to question number 19. Recently, so question number 17, when external forces are applied to common glass made from silicates, energy builds up around defects in the material resulting in fractures. Recently, engineer in Finland used the chemical compound aluminum oxide to make a glassy solid that can withstand higher strain than silicate glass can before fracturing. Okay, so we need to know what the chemical compound is. So the name of a chemical compound is essential. So we know that C is incorrect. Why? Because aluminum oxide in choice C is non-essential, but the name of this chemical compound is essential, so D is correct. A and B are grammatically incorrect because they need to have either two commas between it or nothing. So in this case, because it is essential, we don't need commas. Question number 18. So in this case, from the choices, I can see that Three choices are in plural, and the only one that is singular is D. So still, let's have a look at the text. Interestingly, the triangle representing the mountain itself. So the triangle is singular, right? So D is correct. That's easy. Like you can answer these questions in like 5, 10 seconds. Okay. So in 2007 article, plant cell biologists showed. So the name of a biologist is essential. So C is correct. Literally. B is grammatically incorrect. A is grammatically incorrect. But if you chose D, it would mean like plant cell biologist showed. But I mean, which biologist? We don't really know because the name of a biologist is really essential. So let's move on. 20. Researchers studying have determined why some roundworms move in the opposite direction when searching for food. Okay. So until here, it is a independent clause. It's a complete sentence. In the northern hemisphere, the magnetic field points down into the ground, but in the southern hemisphere, it points up towards. So from here, this is also a independent clause. And even from here to here, it's also independent clause. So to connect them, we either need period or semicolon. So let's have a look at the choices. Or we can also put a colon. Why? Because it's explaining here, right? So in this case, A is correct. 21. Like this one is plural, this one is plural, and this one is also plural, but is singular. Let's have a look at here. Let's have a look here. Like this one is a non-essential clause, and we can easily eliminate it because it's not essential to us. Okay, thousands of statues of warriors found interred near the tomb were shocked to realize that the shape. So what is important is the shape of each ears is unique, right? Some people might think that the subject here is ears. No, it's not, because here we have of. Anything after like in, of, at is non-essential. So the shape is the subject. So is 22. Okay. Hopper's subsequent career would involve more than just equations. As a pioneering computer programmer, Hopper would help usher in the digital age. He does not just solve like equations. He also help usher in the digital age. So it's explaining, right? So we need a colon here. Okay. So A is correct. Yeah, A is correct. Let's move on. Question number 23. It's a transition question. Okay, Earth's hour's colorful displays of light seen above the northern and southern poles result, broadly speaking, from the sun's activity. The sun releases charged particles that are captured by Earth's magnetic field. Okay, these particles. So sun's activity is exemplified here. Like these two sentences following the first sentence are explaining the sun's activity. So to explain anything, we need like giving examples, exemplifying. To give an example, we need for example, or for instance, or specifically. So I'm searching these three. Specifically, yes, as I said, specifically is used to exemplify. Question number 24. Some members of the US Supreme Court have resisted calls to televise the court's oral arguments, concerned that the participants would be tempted to perform for the cameras. Okay, so they would be tempted to perform for the cameras and thus lower the quality of the discourse. The justice worried that most viewers would not even watch, only short clips that could be misinterpreted and mischaracterized. So, firstly, it's saying a claim and then it's telling another claim. So, a word that I'm looking for is sort of an addition. It might be in addition, or it might be additionally, or it might be moreover. Let's have a look at the choices. However, addition in comparison, for example. So here as well. Here we have additionally. Let's move on to question number 25. This is also a transition question. The more diverse and wide-ranging an animal's behavior, the larger and more energy demanding the animal's brain tends to be. From an evolutionary perspective, animals that perform only basic actions, okay, if they perform only basic actions, they should allocate fewer resources to growing and maintaining brain tissue. The specialized subtypes of ants provide an opportunity to explore these hypotheses. So it's kind of a cause and effect relationship here because it's saying a claim and then it's telling from this we can conclude this, right? It's a cause and effect. So I'm looking for a word like hence or therefore or thus. Thus is the exact word I was looking for. 26. So we don't need to read the notes except some cases, but in module 2, if you can differentiate between some options, I recommend you to read, but in most cases, don't read it, especially in module 1. But still, this is module 2, so I might need to read the notes if I'm not 100% sure between the choices. The student wants to emphasize the duration and purpose of the work. Okay, I need a duration and purpose, and that's it. That's simple, right? There's nothing about the duration in A. There's nothing about the duration of a study. Like you might think that there's a duration since the 18th century, but it's not the study's duration. The study was not since the 18th century. It was people who have lived in the United States. It's not the study that have been conducted since that time. Since 2003, yes, here we have a duration, right? So there is one check, right? Influenced by the traditional here as well. We don't have a duration of a study. So C is correct, even if I didn't check for purpose, right? Let's have a look. Let's check whether there is purpose here. Have worked to preserve the culture through their museums. So the purpose was to preserve the culture. So C is correct. So the last question. Students wants to emphasize the aim of the research study. Okay, so we want the aim or like a kind of a purpose, right? You gotta have something. We did something to do something. We needed to know something, right? Researchers wanted to know which factors influence lizard egg clutch size because such factors have been well studied in birds but not in lizards. So that's correct because it's saying that the aim, like the researchers wanted to know it. No, it's not saying the purpose. No, no. So if you like this video, boot the like button. So in this video, I will be doing a walkthrough of the Digital SAT Math Practice Test number 1, Module 1. So before we dive into it, let me introduce myself. My name is Azamat, and I have helped hundreds of students to prepare for the SAT. And I am a certified tutor in Schoolhouse. So without further ado, let's dive into it. So question number 1. Which frequency table correctly represents the data listed? So here we have to focus on two things. we have to focus on the number and the frequency of those numbers. If we look at these numbers, here we have number 4, and there are 4 of these. So we can easily eliminate choice D and C, because in choice C, we don't have 16 of those. We only have 4 of those. And in choice D, we don't have a number 16. So the next number that we have is 8. And there are 3 of these. And B is incorrect. Why? Because we don't have a number 3. So B is incorrect, and the only choice that is correct is A. Let's move on to the question number 2. Which expression is equivalent to x squared plus 3x minus 40? So the best way to do it is to go through all these answer choices and find the correct one. So choice A, x squared plus 10x minus 4x minus 40, and this will equal to x squared plus 6x minus 40. So this is not equal to this expression. So A is wrong. So choice B, x squared plus 8x. So I'm sure you know what we're doing. Like we are first multiplying x by x, then x by 8, then minus 5 by x, and then minus 5 to 8. So minus 5x minus 40. So this will equal to x squared plus 3x minus 40. So this is exactly the same as this expression here. So in the real exam, I would definitely choose B, and I'm not gonna bother myself looking at the other choices. Oh, sorry. So I'm not gonna bother myself looking at the other choices, but in this case, I'm gonna explain others as well. So choice C, x squared plus 5x minus 8x minus 40. And this will equal to x squared minus 3x minus 40. So in this case, it's minus 3, which is, here we have plus 3. So C is also wrong. Choice D, x squared plus 4x minus 10x minus 40. So this will equal to x squared minus 6x minus, I'm sorry, minus 40. This is also not the same as the equation, as the expression we have here. So D is also wrong. Let's move on to question number 3. J walks at a speed of 3 miles per hour and runs at a speed of 5 miles per hour. He walks for W hours and runs for R hours, for a combined total of 14 miles. Which equation represents this situation? So we know that his speed of walking is 3 miles per hour, and we can multiply that by W. W is the amount of hours he walks. So this one will be the number of miles J walks. 3 multiplied by W is the amount of miles J walks. So we're gonna plus 2R multiplied by 5. Why? Because 5 is the number of hours he runs, and this will equal to 14. So what I'm gonna do is to look at the answer choices and find the exact match of this. So A is exactly the same. Other choices don't fit here. So question number 4, in triangle ABC, the measure of angle B is 52 degrees and the measure of angle C is 17 degrees. What's the measure of angle A? So in this case, I'm gonna draw a triangle first. So here we have a triangle. I guess it's small, but still doesn't really matter for us. So A, B, and C. So the measure of B is 52 and the measure of C is 17. So you gotta keep in mind that always the number of degrees that a triangle will have is 180. If you combine all these angles, you will have 180. So to find the angle of A, what you gotta do is 180 degrees minus 52 plus 17. So here we have this one will be 69 and 111. So the answer is D. That's pretty easy, I hope. So question number 5. The graph represents the total charge in dollars by an electrician for X hours of work. The electrician charges a one-time fee plus an hourly rate. What's the best interpretation of the slope of the graph? So in this case, we have this graph and the text says that he charges a one-time fee, and one-time fee is y-intercept. What does y-intercept mean? You have to understand these things and you gotta visualize because in these kinds of situations, you gotta use some sort of imagination. So y-intercept is when it starts off the amount of money that the customer has to give to the electrician in this case, which is somewhere around here. So this is when the amount of hours that electrician worked is zero, right? The amount of hours he worked is literally zero. And in this case, he has to pay a one-time fee. And this is y-intercept. And now they're asking about the slope in this question. What is actually the slope? Slope is what increases the price. In this case, for example. And what can increase the price? It cannot be a one-time fee when the amount of hours that he or she, like electrician, did, like is zero. But it's like the slope can be when the electrician works each hour. So that's why I'm looking for that sort of choice. I'm looking like for hourly rate. So choice A, the electrician's hourly rate, exactly. So the correct answer is A. B, the electrician's one-time fee, as I said, it's y-intercept. B is wrong. C, the maximum amounts that the electrician charges, no, it's more like a vertex. The total amounts that the electrician charges, no. So question number 6, it is a student-produced response question. So it's talking about color and shape for 100 tiles of equal area. Okay, so here we have 3 colors, red, blue, and yellow. And we have 2 types of shapes, square and pentagon. So what's the question? If one of these tiles is selected at random, what's the probability of selecting a red tile? So what you have to find is the probability of selecting a red tile. Red tiles. So we are asked for the number of red tiles divided by the total. So we don't care about the shapes, which are squares and pentagon in this case. So how many tiles are there? Red tiles? 30, right? And the total is 100. So 30 divided by 100 is going to equal to 3 divided by 10. Let me write that here. Okay, question number 7. From a population of 50,000 people, that's a lot of people, right? Thousands were chosen at random and surveyed about a proposed piece of legislation. Based on the survey, it's estimated that 35% of people in the population support the legislation. So our prediction is that 35% of people just support that view, like legislation, with an associated margin of error of 3%. Based on these results, which of the following is a plausible value for the total number of people in the population who support the proposed legislation? So they are asking about the number of people in the population who are going to support. Right? You gotta understand margin of error in this case. Like, uh, what is actually a margin of error? It is, for example, if we estimate that 35% of people supports this legislation, if there is a margin of error of 3%, the percent of people who are gonna support it is gonna be between 32% and 38%. You might think, how are you getting all these numbers? What I'm doing essentially is 30, like I'm subtracting 3 from 25, 35. 35 minus 3 is going to equal to 32. And the maximum percent of people who are going to support the legislation is 35 plus 3. So it's going to be between these percentages. So we know that the population, there are 50,000 people in the of like in the population, right? So what we're gonna do is, uh, yep, here, I'm gonna write that here. 32% divided by 100% multiplied by 50,000 people. And this is going to be the minimum number of people who are going to support, and the maximum number of people who are going to support is 38 divided by 100% multiplied by 50,000. So I can use the Desmos graphing calculator because I have access to it, right? So you can use Desmos in your exam as well because it is a built-in calculator and you gotta take advantage of it. But if you have a physical calculator, I guess it would be easier. Like it will be faster, I guess. So in this case, I'm gonna use the Desmos here. 32 divided by 100 multiplied by 50,000. So here I have 16,000. So at least 16,000 people are going to support, right, the legislation. And the maximum number of people who are going to support is 19,000, as you can see here. So my predictions are for the correct answer choice is between 16,000 and 19,000. So let's have a look at the answer choices. C accurately matches this. C is correct, as you can see. Question number 8. What's the positive solution to the given equation? So there are essentially two ways of solving this. The first way is through Desmos. I believe that in this case, I would use Desmos, and the second way is through solving it manually. So let's first go ahead and go to Desmos calculator, and let's type the equation in. 55 divided by x plus 6 equals to x. And here we have two solutions, and they're asking about the positive solution. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, it's 5, right? as you can see here. So the answer would be 5. And there's also the second way of solving this, which takes a lot more time, but you gotta just know this because the reason why you're watching this video is to learn. So the second way is through, firstly, I'm gonna multiply by x plus 6 both sides, x plus 6, and I'm gonna make these, and I'm gonna get 55 equals x squared plus 6x. So I'm gonna minus 55 minus 55. So we'll have x squared plus 6x minus 55. And this will equal to 0. And then what I'm gonna do is there is a formula that you can use to finding the solution, which is x equals minus b plus or minus. There is gonna be two solutions because of plus and minus. So in the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And this is all of them are divided by 2a. So firstly, I'm gonna find x1. And you gotta keep in mind that here, this 1 here is a, 6 is b, and minus 55 is c. So minus b would be minus 6 plus in the square root of 6 squared minus 4 multiplied by 1 multiplied by minus 55, and all of this is divided by 2a. And you're gonna get the solution, and the second one would be exactly the same, but you're gonna have minus here, okay? So for this moment, boot the like button. Yeah, I just want to like this video. So question number 9. An airplane descends from an altitude of 9,500 feet to 5,000 feet at a constant rate of 400 feet per minute. What type of function best models the relationship between the descending airplane's altitude and time? So the first thing that I'm noticing is these two numbers. It's going from 9,500 to 5,000. And this is decrease, right? So we can easily eliminate C and D because they're talking about increases. And the second thing that I'm looking at is at a constant rate. Constant means at the same rate, right? It's not gonna like decrease like something like this. It's gonna decrease something like this at the same rate. So there's gonna be zero acceleration. If you know the physics, you're gonna know what acceleration means. So the answer is B. Is incorrect. So question number 10. Here we have the function of g of x. If the given function g is graphed in the xy plane where y equals g of x, what's the y-intercept of the graph? So, uh, so you first gotta know what y-intercept actually means. Like, so if we have a graph like this, here we have y and here we have the x coordinates. Let's say if x is like x equals to 0, what's the value of y, right? An initial points. So in this case, we gotta put 0 instead of x here. And there is another thing that you gotta know, which is, for example, it doesn't matter what number it is, like 9,900, like 7 in the power of 0 is always gonna equal to 1. X in the power of 0 is gonna equal to 1. It's like a rule. You can't like reject this. So 11 multiplied by 1 is gonna be 11, right? Hey, even if you didn't know what y-intercept actually means, you could easily find this like question correct. Why? Because all of these choices have 0 in the value of x. So let's move on to question number 11. Here we have a circle and it has a center O, and the length of this whole circle is 144 pi, and the diameters P and QS. Okay, so you also have to know one thing, like diameter equals to twice the radius. So the length of arc PS is twice the length of PQ. So let's say that here we have P and S, PS. This is gonna equal to 2x. And PQ in this case will be x. What's the length of RQR? And they're talking about the length of this part. So you gotta know the like the formula of circumference. It is the length of the whole circle. So in this case, if the length of arc PS is 2x, the length of arc QR is also gonna be 2x, and this one is gonna be x. So that would be easy, I believe. 2 plus 2, 4. 4 plus 1, 5. 5 plus 1, 6. So here we have 6x. If we like add all these, we're gonna get 6x. And this is gonna be equal to 144 pi. Pi. Oh, sorry if my handwriting is really bad. So x is gonna equal to, let me use the calculator for this case, for this section. So 144 divided by 6, 24. 24 pi. Don't forget the pi, means a lot. So what's the length of RQR? QR, it's 2x, right? The mistake that a lot of students do in this question is just they think that they found the answer and they just choose A. But don't, because you gotta pay attention to the question. The question is asking about QR, which is 2x. So you gotta multiply that by 2. So you get 48 pi. And the correct answer here is B. So let's move on to the next question. A rectangular has a length of x units and a width of x minus 15 units. If this triangle has an area of 76 square units, if the triangle has an area of 76 square units, what's the value of x? So you gotta know the formula for area. I believe you know, because it's easy. Like for those who might not know it, area equals to length multiplied by width. So the area is 76 square units, and this equals to x multiplied by x minus 15. So in this case, if I were in the real exam and I have this question, I would immediately go to, where do you think? Desmos. So here I have the Desmos. 76 equals to x. x minus 15. And I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, and because length cannot be negative, I'm gonna ignore the negative part, and I'm mainly gonna focus on the positive part. So it's 19, as you can see. So x equals to 19. Let's go ahead and look at the answer choices. So B is correct. I hope you're understanding everything. So before we look at this question 13, I want you to click the button that says subscribe and turn on the notifications. This is going to be the best decision of your life because I'm going to be uploading tons of SAT videos and you're not going to miss out those. So let's continue. My personal recommendation is not to look at this table before reading this description. Rosa opened a savings account at a bank. The table shows the exponential relationship between the time t, so it's in years, since Rosa opened the account, and the total amount n in dollars in the account. If Rose made no additional deposits or withdrawals, which of the following equations best represent the relationship between t and n? So it's telling, the firstly, I'm going to break it down one by one. So it's telling that it is the exponential relationship. So what's the difference between a linear and an exponential relationship? So a linear relationship would be something like this. Okay, x plus b. What about the exponential one? It's gonna look like something like this. Y-intercept. You could and then the 1 plus. So x in the power of time. T is time here. So in this case, we gotta understand the situation. So the situation is Rosa opened the account in the bank and she did not make any additional deposits over these times, over those years, and the amount of dollars is increasing at an exponential rate depending on the time. The amount of dollars that she has in her account, let me find, yeah, is not increasing at this kind of rate. It's increasing maybe like this, or maybe something like this. It's not at a constant rate. It's not at the same rate, right? So that's why we can't use this sort of formula in this case. So what we're gonna do is look at all these. So here we have 0, yes. It's when she opened the account, she had $604. And then after a year, she had $606.42. Then after 2 years, she has $608.84. So in this case, my honest advice to you is look at the options. I mean, don't bother yourself and have a hard time making the equation. So, A, as I said before, any number in the power of 0 is going to be so, as I said before, any number in the power of 0 is gonna be 1. So in this case, that's why I'm gonna choose this. Oh yes, and I gotta have this amount of dollars. So instead of t, I'm gonna put 0, and here we get 1. It's not 604, right? A is wrong. So that's an easy check, right? Here we as well, like 0, anything in the power of 0 is gonna equal to 1. So B is wrong. And let's have a look at C. 604 multiplied by 1 is going to equal to 604. That is correct, right? But still, let's have a look at choice D, right? This one 0.004, and D is wrong as well. By the way, I forgot to tell you the equation of this thing here. So x here is x equals to the percent, I'm gonna write per percent of increase divided by 100%. If it's decrease, you can put negative here and you get the equation. And t is time, as I said, the y-intercept is the initial point. In this case, it's like 604. But still, if you in like some complex situations, you might not have this sort of perfect, you can't formulate this sort of perfect expression. Don't worry, look at all the answer choices and find the best one. So question number 14. At how many points do the graphs of the equation y equals x plus 20, y equals 8x intersect in the xy plane? So I'm gonna rewrite this something like this: x y equals x plus 20, y equals 8x. And in this case, because I've solved hundreds of thousands of these questions, I immediately look at it and choose the answer that says 1 point. But if you're beginner or intermediate level in this sort of SAT maths, I'm gonna teach you something. So if if you have same slope and same y-intercept, then that means that there are infinitely many solutions. What if like there is same slope, different y-intercept? In this case, that would be 0 solutions. And if there are different slopes and different y-intercept, then that means there is one solution. So you gotta keep this in mind, and I recommend you to not learn this in the way that a lot of people tell you, just memorize. No, you don't have to memorize, you just have to visualize. So I'm gonna try to teach you how to visualize it. For example, in infinitely many solutions, is if we have a graph something like this, if this if there are two expressions and both of these have the same slope means the increasing, yeah, the rate of increase, if it's the same, the next one it also have the same y-intercept, so both of these are gonna lie here, right? They go this the same here. And as you can see, in each point there are intersections, like the infinitely many. You can't like count them. So the second scenario is, let me use stroke eraser. Yeah, it's gonna be better in this case. So if this if it has different y-intercept, for example, the first equation has an intercept y-intercept of here, and the other one has a y-intercept here. If they have the same slope, the rate of increase is the same. Example, this one, this one. It's also like this. Like if they have the same slope and the different y-intercept, they're not intersecting, right? If they're in the same like at the constants, right? And if there are different slopes, for example, this one is decreasing and the y-intercept is also different, for example, and this one is another the second graph, and it's actually increasing. So there's only one solution, as you can see, because there's one point at where it's they're like intersecting. So in this case, as you can see, we have different slopes, different y-intercepts. 20 and 0, they're different, right? So that's why there's only one point. Question number 15. So here we have some sort of equation. At a school fair, students can win colored tokens that are worth different number of points depending on the color. One student won G green tokens and R green tokens, worth a total of 380 points. The given equation represents this situation. How many more points is a red token worth more than a green token? So if this one G is a green token and this one R is a red token, what you have to do is just minus this from this, right? 40. So question number 16. The number of bacteria in a liquid medium doubles every single day. There are 44,000 bacteria in the liquid at the start of an observation, which represents the number of bacteria in the liquid medium T days after the start of the observation. So this is a perfect place where you can literally see the exponential equations. So as I said, there are two ways of solving it. You can just put 0 in the time section, as it's saying this at the start there were 44,000 bacteria, and you can put 0 instead of C, and you can find the correct answer, but you will end up with C and D. And then I'm gonna and then what is important is the rate of increase. It doubles, right? It doubles every day. So it's gonna be D. So that's easy. Question number 17. A cylinder has a diameter of 8 inches and a height of 12 inches. What's the volume in cubic inches of this cylinder? So, as I also mentioned earlier, diameter is 2r, like twice the radius. So radius is 4. And we know from here is that height is 12 inches. What's the volume of a cylinder? So I guess there is a formula in the reference part, but still I know the formula. Volume equals P r squared multiplied by h. So V equals pi multiplied by 4 squared multiplied by 12. So in this case, I can use a Desmos calculator to find it. So 4 squared multiplied by 12. 192 pi. Don't forget the pi, by the way, because it's so important. So the correct answer is C. Oh, sorry. So let's move on to the next question. Question number 18. Here we have two equations. So we ask for the value of y. So looking at this, what I can do is multiply by 3 the second equation. Okay. So 6. I'm gonna rewrite the first equation. 6x plus 7y equals 28. Second one, 6x plus 6y equals 30. And then I'm gonna minus this one. So these one are out, and y equals minus 2, because 28 minus 30 is gonna be minus 2. So the answer is A. I hope everything is making sense. If you have any questions, you can comment down below. Okay? So question number 19. Okay, something. Okay. Question number 19. In triangle JKL, cosine of K equals 24 divided by 51, and angle J is a right angle. What's the value of cosine L? So I'm gonna share the secret strategy that I use in these sorts of sine cosine questions. That is SOHCAHTOA. So what does that mean is, S here is sine is opposite, O is opposite, divided by hypotenuse. I'm not gonna write all this because it's gonna take a lot of time. And so this is that simple. So firstly, I'm gonna draw the triangle here. Trying to make it big enough. So I hope that's a little beautiful. So angle J is a right angle. So here it's 90 degrees and it's gonna be J. And I have K and here L. Okay. So cosine of K, well, here we have it, is 24. And the hypotenuse is 51. How am I getting it? I'm getting it from here. As I said, it's so easy to remember. I always say SOHCAHTOA, and that's it, man. And we have to find the value of cosine of L. Cosine of L is gonna equal to LJ divided by LK. So you also have to know the other thing as well. If you have this sort of triangle and you have the height, like this one is A, this one is B, and this one is C, there's a formula that you can use. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So in this case, I'm going to use it to find LJ. So in the square root of 51 squared minus 24 squared. So it's going to equal to 45. So the cosine of L is going to equal to 45 divided by 51. And I'm going to write that in here. 45 divided by 51. I always recommend you to write in this sort of fraction form, in these sorts of student-produced responses. So question number 20.
Here we have the function. The given equation defines the function f for what value of x does f of x reach its minimum. So there are two ways of solving it. The first way is through Desmos, right? That's the easiest and that's the fastest. And even in the real exam, if I had this sort of question, I would immediately go to Desmos and solve it. And the second way is through manual, like writing down and like solving all of this. And you gotta still know the formula, like it is a h minus x h squared is this one is x plus k. So in this case, h k is vertex. Vertex. So in this case, I'm gonna show you through Desmos. Okie dokie. Y equals 4x squared minus 50x plus 126. And we gotta find the minimum value. So here's it. And they're asking for the value of x when y is minimum. And it is 6.25. 6.25. Okay. Question number 21. In the xy plane, line L passes through the point O, and it is parallel to the line represented by the equation y equals 8x plus 2 if line L also passes through the points 3 and 100. What's the value of d? So if two lines are parallel to each other, that means that their slope is the same. That's y-intercept is different. So in this case, we know that from this line L will be like equation of line L is going to be y equals 8x plus b. And they're also mentioning that when x equals to 0, it's going to be 0. So we don't have, we have a y-intercept and it's going to equal to 0, which like means almost nothing, right? So we gotta put 3 instead of x to find the solution, to find d, and this one will equal to 24. And the answer is 24. So simple, I believe. In the xy plane, a line with equation 2y equals c for some constant intersects a parabola at exactly 1 point. If the parabola has the equation like this, what's the value of c? So I'm gonna write it like this. I'm gonna write all of this here. 2 minus 2x squared plus 9x equals to c minus 4x squared plus 18x equals to c. So minus 4x squared plus 18x minus c equals to 0. And here thing, we have to find c, right? Remember that the text says that it intersects at exactly 1 point. And I'm gonna tell you one thing. If discriminant equals to 0, there will be one solution or 1 point. If the discriminant is more than 0, then that would mean that there are 2 solutions. If discriminant is less than 0, that means that there are 0 solutions. So in this case, it's telling that there is exactly 1 point. So that means that discriminant equals to 0. But what does discriminant equal to? Discriminant equals to b squared minus 4ac. So 0 is going to equal to 18 squared minus 4 minus 4. This one is minus c. So in this case, you're going to plus 16c to both sides. And you can get rid of 16 at c here, and you will have 16c equals to 324. And in this case, I'm gonna use Desmos to find the value. So 324 divided by 16, and I will get 81 divided by 4. And I already wrote that. If you want the PDF version of all of these explanations, you can click into the. So question number 1, which one is equivalent to this? So here we have this equation, and what we have to find is like these things. We got a plus 9 to 7. So we will have 16x squared plus 9x, and I'm looking for this choice. So which one shows that? Choice D. So let's move on. Of 900,000 beats, 828 are silver. What percent of the beats are silver? So I'm gonna use my calculator for this. So what I have to do is divide 828,000 by 900,000, and I'm gonna multiply that by 100. So it's 92% of them are silver. So the correct answer is D. Question number 3. If this equation, what's the value of 3t? So I'm gonna solve that in here in my whiteboard. So 6t minus 20 plus t equals 40 plus 4t. So here I have 7t minus 20 equals 40. Here, I have this 40 plus 4t. So then what I'm gonna do is subtract 4t from both sides, and this will be out, and then I am gonna add 20 to both sides. So 3t equals 60. So 3t equals 60. Let's move on. So we have a equation here. What's the value of x plus 4? So I'm gonna solve that as well here. Question number 4. 5x plus 20 equals 4x plus 16 plus 29. So 5x plus 20 equals 4x plus 45, I would say. Yep, 45. And then I'm gonna subtract 4x from both sides. And then I'm gonna subtract 20 from both sides. So here I have x equals to 25, but the answer is not 25 because they're asking for x plus 4, so it's going to be 29. Neighborhood consists of a 2-hectare park and 35-hectare residential area. The total number of trees in the neighborhood is
Okay, 3934. The equation represents the situation which of the following is the best interpretation of x in this context. So 2-hectare park is this one. Like the number of trees in 2-hectare parks are 2x. And that means the x means the number of trees in each uh, like 2-hectare park. Like it's in a park. It's not in the residential area, so we can easily eliminate choices that says residential area. And then it's not the total number of trees because the total number of trees is 2x, but they're asking for x, so the average number of trees per hectare in the park. So question number 6, for a certain rectangular region, the ratio of its length to width is 35 to 10. So I'm gonna draw that in here. So here we have a rectangular. It's not a perfect rectangle, but still, I'm trying my best. So this one is 35x and 10x. So if the width uh, increases by 7 units, that is 10x, I believe. Yep, 10x plus 7 divided by how much the length change to maintain this ratio. So 35x plus let's say y equals this, which is 10 divided by 35. And here we have like in both sides x, so we can easily eliminate these. So from here, uh, yep, there is an easy way of solving it. We can like 7 to 10, right? And yeah, like let's solve this way. 35 divided by 10 is going to be multiplied by 7, I believe. So let me use the calculator for this. 35 multiplied by 7 divided by 10. Yeah, as you can see, 24.5. Why we are doing it? To have these two equal. I mean, because we have these two, we don't really care about these. What we care is the increased size. So that's why I am like finding y here. So that's why the answer is 24.5. It gotta increase, not it doesn't have to decrease because the width increases. So the length is also going to be increased to maintain this ratio. So next one, the given equation, so we gotta find the n of n, yeah. So let me rewrite it. P equals 9 plus 14 divided by n, then 14 divided by n equals p minus 9. So from here, yeah, and so if it's ones like we can multiply to these sides and multiply by pi minus 9 and then 14, and this is gonna be equal to 14. It's gonna be equal to 14. So from here we can find n equals, we are gonna divide both sides by p minus 9. So 14 divided by p minus 9. 9. Okay. So which one shows that? This one, D. So next, the expression here we have an expression is equivalent to this. Okay, so the first expression is this one, 24 divided by 6x plus 42. And this is equal to 4 divided by x plus b. The first thing that I'm noticing is that it's it's divided by 6. So this one as well is divided by 6, and hence even this one's going to be divided by 6. 42 divided by 6 is gonna be 7. So the answer is A. So here we have the equation of the circle A, and then it's saying that the center is the same, but the radius of circle B is 2 times the radius of circle A, and then we have an equation for circle B. What's the value of K? So you gotta know this formula, let's say x minus A squared plus y minus b squared, and this is gonna be equal to radius squared. And so in the first one, like the radius squared is 4, and the radius is gonna equal to 2, right? So if the radius of B is 2 times that, so what you're gonna do is 2 multiplied by 2, and you're gonna have 4 here, and uh, 4 in the power of 2 is gonna equal to 16, because as you know, we have this formula r in the power of 2. So that's why k equals to 16. So I'm gonna write that down here, 16. Next one. A business owner plans to purchase the same model of chairs. So there are 81 employees. The total budget to spend on these is this one, and it includes a sales taxes. And they're asking us for the maximum possible price per chair before sales taxes, right? So what we gotta do is first we have to get rid of. So here we have 14 thousandths, and this will equal to 1.07 multiplied by x, and this is also gonna be multiplied by 81 because we are 81 employees. So why 1.07? Because there is a 7% sales taxes, and what we did was 1 plus 7 divided by 100, so I got that number. So from here, 14 thousandths is gonna equal to, let me use my calculator to solve this. So 1.07 multiplied by 81, so 86.67x, and now we gotta find x. So 14,000 divided by 86.67. So I get 161.532. So this is the maximum number, the maximum price per chair that a business owner can spend. So here I have it. So the next one, here we have two equations and they intersect at these points. What's the possible value of x? Okay, well, I can actually use a Datmos calculator here, which is a built-in software in BlueBook. Equals minus 11, and then 2x squared equals y plus 341. And I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. So I guess there are two places where it intersects. So the first one is when x equals 11. We don't have that answer. And the second one is when it intersects at minus 15. And they're asking about x. So that's why the answer is A. How many solutions does this equation has? So let me write that. 150 x minus 90 equals minus 90 plus 150x. This equation is the same, right? So if even the slope, even the y-intercepts of both equations are the same, it's gonna be infinitely many solutions. If the slope is the same and the y-intercept is different, then it doesn't there will be zero solutions. So in this case, infinitely many solutions. Question number 13. So we have the x-intercept. So you gotta know something like vertex can be either like this or like this, and the vertex is here, here, or here, and it's the middle in the x-axis. So in this case, minus 3 equals minus 17 divided by 4 plus, let's say this one, a, and then this one is going to be divided by 2. And from here, 19 plus a equals a, this is a, minus 6. So from here, a equals minus 6 plus 17 divided by 4. And I'm going to use calculator for this to find it. Minus 6 plus 19 divided by 4. And I get minus 1.75. So which one of these equals, like, let's divide 7 by 4. Yeah, so the answer is B. Okay, this one is shown. Y equals fx plus 14 is shown. So the slope is the same for all of these choices. So I gotta pay attention to the y-intercepts. So if this one is shown, like y is shown, and the y-intercept is 2, and this one is uh, like here, we have 2 y-intercepts, we got a minus 14 because we need to find the f of x. So we get minus 12, so the answer is A. In the given equation, b is a constant for which of the values following values of b will the equation have more than one real solution? So, let me rewrite it. 64x squared plus b plus bx plus 25 equals 0. And to have more than one real solution, the discriminant has to have like discriminant has to be more than 0. So what is discriminant? Discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So here we have b, this one is a, and this one is c. So b squared minus 464 and 25, sorry. Yeah, 25, 25. And this is more than 0. And this is going to equal to b squared. We're going to plus all of these. And I'm going to use a calculator for this. 4 multiplied by 64 multiplied by 25. So here I get 64,000, 6,400. So from here, I am gonna, in the square root of 6,400, so I get 80. So b has to be less than 80, like less than 80. So, or minus 1. Oh, it gotta be like higher than 80. It doesn't have to be 80. So the only answer is 91. Like it doesn't matter whether it's negative or positive because it is squared. That's why 91 is minus 91 is the correct answer. Question number 16. So we have a graph and it has an x-intercept and a y-intercept. Okay, that's easy. So if y equals to 0, it's going to be 7x equals to minus 31, and x is going to equal to minus 31 divided by 7. So if x is 0, it's going to equal 2y equals minus 31. This is actually a. Yeah, this is a. And so b equals minus 31 divided by 2. So b divided by a. So minus 31 divided by 2. And when we divide it, the second one is going to be the opposite. So this one's going to be the opposite. 7 minus 31. So minus 31s are out. So we get 7 divided by 2. And it's in the positive. 7 divided by 2. So the next one, so we have this one. It doesn't have any solutions. So when there are no solutions, there gotta be same slope but different y-intercepts. Okay, so let me rewrite it. 16y equals 4x minus 2. This one is going to equal to ty equals 2x plus 1.2. We don't care about y-intercept because uh, they can be like different. What you care about is the slope. So if this one is multiplied by 2, so we gotta divide this one by 2, so we get 8y. So the t equals to 8. That's easy, I hope. You just gotta know this. When there are no solutions, you gotta have same slope, different line step. An isosceles right triangle has a hypotenuse of length 58 inches. What's the perimeter of inches of this triangle? So isosceles looks like something like this. This one is x, this one is x, and this one is x in the square root of 2. So the hypotenuse is 58. So x in the square root of 2 equals 58. So x equals 58 divided by in the square root of 2. So from here, we can multiply that by 2. Or, yeah, 58 in the square root of 2 plus 58 in the square root of 2 plus 58. So from here, what we can do is multiply this 58 divided by in the square root of 2 multiplied by in the square root of 2 square root of 2, because this is going to be 1, right? So it doesn't matter if we multiply it by 1. So from here, we have 2 of those. So it's going to be 58 in the square root of 2 multiplied by 2. And we have 2 of those. And we're going to multiply it by 2. So 2 are out. So 58 in the square root of 2 plus 58. Which answer shows that? C, right? So let's move on. We have 9 minutes left and we have 3 questions left. Okay. So we have a linear function by, we need to find a minus b. A is slope, b is y-intercept. Okay, so we're gonna first find the slope. Slope is y2 divided by y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So I'm gonna choose for y2 64, and for y1 I'm gonna choose 0. So this is gonna be divided by 3 minus 2 because it's easier, because it's still linear, right? So 64 divided by 1. So the slope is 64, so that means A is 64. And now we gotta find B, y-intercept. So let's put this one, when y equals 0, 64 the x is like 2 plus b. So in this case, b is minus 64 multiplied by 2. So b is minus 128. So we gotta, what we're gonna do is find a minus b. So a is 64, 64 minus 2 negatives equal to positive, so 128. So we get 192. 192. So D is the answer. Next one. So we got two questions, or three. Yes, three questions left. So we did set A consists of 10 positive integers less than 60. So that's important, less than 60. And in this case, we have 9 of those integers. You gotta know what integer is. It can't be, for example, 49.4. It can be 49 or 50. After the decimal, there gotta be no numbers. So the mean of those 9 is to 42. If the mean data set A is greater than 42 was the value of the largest integer from set A. So 42, it gotta be more than that. And the mean of these 9 integers is 42, right? So we're gonna multiply that by 9, but because still we're gonna have the same number. So plus, we're gonna put x, and then we're gonna divide that by 10. X is the largest value. So let me use the calculator. I have very little time left because I'm doing it live and I'm explaining each answer. 378 plus x, and this is divided by 10, 42. Okay, 378 plus x, plus x, 420. Okay, so 420 minus 378, so I get 42, and gotta be less. Oh no, is the gotta be the reason? So the best way is to put those numbers, I believe. Let's put 43 instead of 42, and then we get 130 minus 378. So 52, yeah. Why I put 43? Because it gotta be an integer and the mean has to be an integer, right? So if I put 43 here, I can get the answer. So that's fine. If you put like here, it's gonna be 430, and we get 52. So the answer is 52. 5 minutes left. Okay, we got two questions left. So for groups of 24 or more people, a museum charges $21 per person for the first 25 people. Okay, so if the 25 people, then it's gonna be 21 multiplied by 25. So I get 525. And $14 for each additional person. With n people were, so this is also important when n is more than equal or more than 25. So so in this case, what I'm gonna do is this, it's like the easiest way. I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna put 25 instead of x, and then I'm gonna put this one, and let's see which one matches. So a 14 multiplied by 25 and plus 175. Yeah. So B, like A is like possibly correct. So B, 525. No. 875. No. B is wrong. Like these are all like C is wrong because like even if we put it, it's like not really good choice. 35 minus 350. We're gonna get the same. Okay. So let's see here. So D 14 plus 21? No. So we are between A and C. So what we can do is put 26 here, and then like for each additional person, it's $14. That's why we can add 14 here, 539. So now let's see between A and C. So first let's start with C. 35 multiplied by 26 minus 350. No, like it shows 560, but we want this number. So C is wrong. What if we put A? 14 is going to be plus 175. Yeah, correct. So it's correct. So the last question, and we got 2 minutes left. So we have two triangles. Okay. This is not really beautiful, but okay. L, M, N. And this one got. Okay, so this one is R. Make sure that these are like match. S, T. So L and R have 60 degrees. This one is also 60. Ln is 10 and RT is 30. Which additional piece of information is sufficient to prove that these two triangles are similar? Similar means having the same angles. So we gotta focus on angles. We don't have to focus on like we don't have to focus on the length. So A is talking about length B as well, so we can get rid of these choices. So from here, let's have a look at C. The 170 and 60, M and S. If they are different, then like contradicting our claim. Because if M is 70 and S is 60, they're not going to be equal. They're not going to be similar, right? So D is the correct. Why? Because if M is 70, this one is going to be 50, right? And T is 50. Yeah, like if T is 50, this one is gonna be 70. So those angles are equal. So that's why it can be similar. So this one is enough to prove that these two triangles are similar.